Legend of the War here, and today we've got a rating your Doomstack video, but we're not going to get anywhere without firstly addressing this. I recognize that he has a ridiculous amount of money in the treasury. He's clearly able to still do the indoctrination cheese. This is where you indoctrinate a character because he's playing as Ivres, and then you let them go, and then you keep the faction alive, and then you keep giving that faction more and more money, and they keep giving you like 30-40% of their treasury without it actually being subtracted from their treasury. And so it's basically like extreme compound interest, where I'm sure as if you press the end turn, you'd probably end up with another 100 million. We did this in Warhammer 2. It just seems like Creative Assembly hasn't fixed this delicious exploit. Would be a pretty easy fix, just make it subtract from the enemy's treasury, but you know, whatever. Anyway, we're here to actually rate this Doomstack here today. It's an Arcane Phoenix Doomstack. We checked it out back in Warhammer 2, and it seems like it's still viable in Warhammer 3, so let's go through it. So, vast majority of the units are Arcane Phoenixes, and the wizards in here are to support. Now, it actually might be more viable in Warhammer 3, because in Warhammer 2, I used to use mages as entrepreneurs, and so I didn't really want to get this particular trait, because I'd much rather have more money. Not that it matters for Ivres, they have their way more powerful way of making money. They don't even need entrepreneurs. But since entrepreneur is out anyway, it definitely makes that this particular trait here is a lot more viable. The Flammable trait. So ward save plus 5% for Phoenix units. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. So that's providing 30% ward save just on its own. Then if we have a look at the Arcane Phoenix, it's got 35% ward save and 30% physical resistance. However, it's actually a lot more than that, because as long as we keep our Winds of Magic above 15, which is very easy to do considering how much magic we've got, then we'll get an additional 10%. Now that's not added up here right away, so that's actually 45% ward save. Now he's also got a Diamond Guardian Phoenix, which means we'll get an additional 10% physical resistance. So what we've actually got is 45% ward save and 40% physical resistance, meaning we've got 85% physical resistance, meaning that if they put in one more wizard with the Flammable trait, we would have gotten to the physical resistance cap, but I think that 85% is sufficient for this case here. Another thing is, playing as Eltharion, he's able to make these units here Mistwalkers, and he's chosen Mistwalker of Shadow for all of them, which has given them Stalk. So that means as long as Teclis just stays out of the way, I don't know if he's got Stalk. He may have it in there. I don't know. Needle in a haystack in all this. Doesn't look like it. But as long as we keep him out of combat, then we can just let the Phoenixes do all the work without even having to worry about them. So he's chosen a Clan Pestilence, probably endgame crisis to deal with here. So let's jump in against them and see how the Arcane Phoenixes do. So in Auto Resolve, it's not stupidly strong. So there's that. They already do Flaming Attack anyway, so adding on Flaming Attack onto Flaming Attack is fine. So let's jump in here and see how they go. So the main thing that we want to do with this is just basically throw it into combat and then just see how much damage it ends up taking up. So when dealing with this Skaven army here, there are some units that have magical attacks, and those will probably do the most amount of damage to Arcane Phoenixes, except for the fact that the units that are doing magical damage aren't great against single entities. So it's kind of weird, but Rattling Guns, despite the fact they're shooting Warpstone bullets, which is solidified magic, are actually considered physical weapons. Same thing with Jezzails. I think the Doom Wheel might actually be considered magical attacks. The Plague Claw Catapult is, but it's not great against single entities, more likely to do damage to their own units. The Poisoned Wind units, so the Mortars and the Globadiers, they're magical. Same thing with the Deathglow Bombardiers, but they're not great against single entities. And of course, because we've got, well, we've got a Life Wizard through Teclis with Regrowth, we've also got other Life Wizards. We can heal our Phoenixes. Oh, you've chosen a fire... Okay, yeah, but it's stalking anyway, so we're just trying to keep it out of the way. Now, the ward save for Phoenix units doesn't count towards mounts, so I don't think that I don't think that Teclis is benefiting from it because he gets a lot of ward save through his items anyway, so he would have a lot more ward save than that. But still, he's just as resistant as them, so there's no reason why we have to keep him out of it.
Awaiting orders.
Okay, cool. And guess we could wait for the reinforcements, but we're not going to annihilate them all in 5 seconds, so they'll just come in as they come in. Let's just go in. Try to take out the enemy's single entities first. I'm not going to worry too much about popping down the Ember Storms until we've gotten rid of most of the single entities.
I am ready.
So yeah, we just have to make sure that we have at least 15 in here. So yeah, it's not doing that much damage. We got hit by Howling Warp Gale, but I don't think it's a big deal. See, it's just doing nothing to us.
High Lore Master.
So yeah, if we have a look at the Phoenixes now, we can see, yeah, 45% and 40% because you got the Diamond Guardian Phoenix active. They don't need the Ruby Guardian Phoenix because they already got loads of fire resistance. Oh yeah, you've also got the sort of Teclis, of course, which gives us even more magical reserves. There's really no reason why we can't do that at the start. Plus it gives them spell mastery, so that'll make these spells even more effective. Yeah, what the hell? Stuck up in the sky.
Ever vigilant.
So we want to try to avoid using the actual spells. Just focus on the Arcane Phoenixes. They've already taken out one health with Abomination. Taken a bit of damage. Not worth using a regrowth just yet. Now if they start using the Poison Wind Mortars over here, they're going to absolutely eradicate their own units, so we should probably go and take it out to prevent them from doing that, so that we're not cheapening the victory here.
Guardian.
No, we're still good here. So how much damage were those Rattling Guns even doing? Okay, there's Poison Wind Mortars there. We should probably get rid of them before they kill their own troops too much. I'll just send small squads over to get... No, we keep getting Howling Warp Galed. Hang on, let me just put down this Ember Storm before... Oh look, they've actually got the missile units in melee over here. I guess they got obstructed and then just moved forward.
Teclis.
So yeah, Teclis does have access to unlimited winds of magic using the Sword of Teclis, but it does take a while to generate a ton of magic in reserves with this weapon.
Yes.
Okay, I might need to get rid of that bell just to shut it the fuck up. That one there got isolated, so what I'm doing here is just pulling it out a bit,
Teclis.
and we'll put down some Ember Storms.
Kill them.
It's not too difficult for them to get out of combat, but they don't have the largest amount of mass in the game, where mass is needed for pulling out of this sort of combat.
Master of the White Tower.
And on Teclis, yeah, it's only 5 winds of magic for a regrowth, so as long as we don't run out of heal cap, we could heal for quite a long time. Now, you could also argue that Phoenixes will regenerate on their own if they get close to death, but that's risky because you got a 50-50 chance of getting them killed. rattling guns, yeah, they're not doing that much. And the globadiers, yeah, no. They don't do that much. Now we could very easily wipe this out very quickly with Chain Lightning and Flock of Doom. But no. I think the Phoenixes have got it. I need to get rid of that one there before it kills off their entire army. Okay, let's get this one out. Use some Ember Storms.
Techless.
So how are those Giselles doing? Yeah, less than 1,000 damage on it. Which those are very heavy damage dealers, so all that resistance is really coming in handy there. Now I've seen rattling guns get like 2,000 damage with just a single volley, so seeing it only get a couple of hundred is pretty funny, because they're just such big damage dealers.
Techless.
Time for one of these, I think. But you want to do that while the spell is active, so it doesn't impact on its actual cooldown. Okay, this one here is actually almost at its regen cap, but I think we're pretty close to victory. So just one at a time, just bring out the Phoenixes so that I can pop down an Ember Storm here and there. In the biggest cluster of infantry would be best.
Awaiting orders. Yen Louis.
Let's pull this one out. It's taking way too much damage. They're all just focusing fire on it. Get out of here. Alright, all the infantry over here have basically been obliterated. Let's go take out these rattling guns. They're the only ones that ever had any chance of doing any serious damage to us, and they did do some.
Ever vigilant.
But nowhere near as much as they could have if it wasn't for all these flammable characters. Now the thing is, at the moment, the rattling guns are doing 15% of their damage, which means if we had one more flammable character, that would have reduced the amount of damage that we took across the entire army against physical weapons by 33 1/3%. There's a difference between 15% and 10%, that's what it would be. Which is why the closer you get to 100%, the more valuable the resistance becomes. Like when you've only got 5 or 10% resistance, you can barely even notice it, but once you start going above 50%, that's when you really start to notice huge differences in resistance. Now that's not to say that under 50% resistance is worthless, it's just that it's worth a lot more when you get to that point. And not every unit or character can get to that point. Oh, I brought this one back. It should be fine. Still reinforcements coming in. Bounce of power's in our favor. I was going to Ember Storm, but they all just started running away. Haven't army lost them yet, they just chicken shit cowards here. Take out this general. You, get out of here. Done with you.
Tremble before me.
Of course, the flaming attacks against Hill Pit Abominations are really good. But Hill Pit Abominations are anti-large, but physical damage doesn't help them out here. Again, all we gotta do is keep our magic above 15 to get that quite a significant ward save boost. Now you can definitely do this outside of your Vress. It's just that I guess having these as Mistwalkers here helps out a fair bit. So they're not even trying to go after them. I'm worried I'm going to lure them over here. Go over to the other side.
None can comprehend my power.
Oh, it only caused a cooldown on these, but not the actual spells. Oh, that's interesting. Another Hell Pit Abomination down. Mostly just artillery over there. If we went over there and took that out, we'd definitely cause the army losses. Because artillery is worth so much in bounce power. And we still had absolutely gigantic reserves. 175 to use and still 22. And we could have kept using this constantly. And once again, I didn't use Flock of Doom or Chain Lightning, which would have gotten rid of the Storm Vermin and stuff a lot quicker. And there's the army losses. So this here could have very easily taken on 4 stacks of Endgame Crisis Skaven, which are very heavy damage dealers. Most of the units in this are either anti-large or just very highly damaging. So, just looking at it, I'm just thinking about what faction would probably give this a run for its money. I think Skaven... I've always found that Skaven can be kind of weak against flying units, but that's usually when I play as Skaven, just because of the way that I set up. But the AI doesn't really set up the same way, so it's not the same thing. Other high elf factions would probably have a hard time with it, unless you went up against something like loads of Dragon Princes, because of the flame resistance. But as high elves, you don't really go against other high elves in the late game. It just shouldn't be happening. It can happen, but it shouldn't. Dark elves could be a bit of a problem because they're also highly damage dealing and they don't have flaming attacks on most of their units. But shades and dark shards don't have magical attacks. So that's what would really be needed in order to take some of this stuff out. Okay, Wood Elves. The Deepwood Scouts Swift Shiver Shards. That would probably give us a run for our money because it's magical attack while also not being flaming attack. That'd be a problem. Dwarfs probably wouldn't be that much of a problem. Yeah, this could pretty much handle any faction. Empire wouldn't be a problem. Most of their attacks are physical, except for maybe the silver bullets. But if they had the silver bullets, you just go down and take them out. So that battle also didn't take very long, and you know all of them racked up, except for this one here, 100 kills. Some of them more than others, probably just due to having used Ember Storm. But I wasn't really focusing on it too much. Didn't walk out of it completely unscathed, but you go into another battle fight and manually you could easily heal up. And only one of them got close to hitting their regen cap. The others were... I have no idea how far off they were from hitting the regen cap. And again, we can make them stronger. I do think that this army would be would actually benefit from having one more flammable wizard, because that extra, essentially 30% resistance would make each of them last a lot longer. And also probably help the army out a lot in auto resolve, just because of having a high level character. Because you don't want to be fighting all these battles manually.
The captives.
Well, most people don't. Some people do. And they were on forced march. If we went up against Lizardmen, I don't think there'd be a problem with that. They got a lot of anti-large, but all their stuff's mostly physical attack. Yeah, I can't really think of any faction that would go up against... Okay, maybe like if you went up against Cathay, if it had like 3 full stacks of Terracotta Sentinels, because while they're not anti-large, they do have very high melee attack, they are unbreakable, and they've got magical attacks. So that's something that could probably give this a run for its money, but out of all of my time playing Total War Warhammer, I have never seen any more than maybe 3 or 4 Terracotta Sentinels in any one army, so expecting that to show up, you would basically need to go into a multiplayer campaign and have a human opponent, at which point you don't build Doomstacks for head-to-head. That's stupid. They're hugely inefficient. But yeah, let's rate this Doomstack. So in terms of practicality, it'll take a while to build this. Getting that many wizards, you're going to need a fair few settlements, at least at tier 4. So you're not going to be getting this in the early game. Arcane Phoenixes are tier 5 units. They're very good units, but we can also see here that they're... Oh, it's got 36 armies, so I guess that army upkeep increase makes sense, but they're not cheap units. It's incredibly strong. It's basically top marks in terms of strength. In terms of ease of use, very easy. Just keep these out of the way, throw them into melee, heal where necessary. Very, very easy. There's few factions in the game where you would even really need to seriously try. Like, I didn't really try that hard in that battle. Could have very easily been using Ember Storm and really trying to have the AI use their Poison Wind Mortars to kill their own units. Could have very easily done that. But I couldn't be bothered, just didn't need to do it. So, very easy to use, very strong. In terms of practicality, it's not like totally bottoming out. Like, comparing this to the Kislev one that we got the other day with all the ice, the Frost Maidens. That one is way less practical than this because those are... The cap for the heroes is increased at tier 5, not tier 4, like these ones. And this one here only requires 6 hero cap, which if you're playing with Techless, he increases the cap of heroes anyway. In here somewhere. Yeah, hero capacity for mage. Oh, it's only by 1. Don't you get extra... Oh, no, that's if you play as Techless. I think you get a bunch of extra capacity for wizards. But yeah, getting to tier 4 with High Elves is not that difficult. So you'd get this a lot sooner than that other hero Doomstack. Which this isn't a hero Doomstack, but it does rely very heavily on the heroes. Because look, if you took them all out, and I guess this is how we can showcase as well that Techless is not affected by it. So his ward save is 35%. If I took this one here out of the army, we can see that his ward save is probably still 35%. Yep. But these ones here, their ward save has gone down to 30%.
High Lawmaster of Hoeth.
Sailing.
Techless. High Lawmaster.
By the White Tower.
Yeah, the Flammable trait only affects units. It doesn't affect mounts. So if you see here, their ward save has dropped down to 5%. So that he was getting 30% from all of them, plus the physical resistance from the Diamond Guardian Phoenix, which is one of the best items in the game. Just curious where that extra 5% is coming from. It could be coming from the tech tree, or... Yeah, probably from the tech tree. I can't remember. I can't memorize all this stuff. It's probably somewhere in there. I'm just not entirely sure. Anyway, that's the end of this one here, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this particular Doomstack. You saw it was pretty damn expensive, but that was with 140% extra upkeep. But yeah, Arcane Phoenixes are not cheap even without any supply lines. But the High Elves are very rich, as we can see here. But of course, he's using kind of an exploit with this. But at this stage of the campaign, in any High Elf campaign, as long as you're doing well and you've got a lot of trade partners, you should be able to pay for this quite easily just with your trade agreements. Anyway, that's the end of this one here. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time, fuckers. Bye.